Alright, so it's been a while coming for a little Macbook, but the little rubber on here has just finally just gotten to a point to where I can't repair it anymore, and I unfortunately have to remove it. So I've been trying to figure something out. I've been pulling it out for quite a while, and I decided to take a hairdryer to it. And this little part right here may not be much, but this little part right here was heated up by my hairdryer. It came off fairly easy, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go out to my garage and I'm going to heat this thing up as much as I can and pull the rest of the rubber off. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this back on, and then when I wake up in the morning, I'm going to spray paint this whole shell a matte black finish. Alright, so it's morning time now. I actually started trying to rip this rubber pad off around like 10 p.m. last night, so I was fairly sleepy. But even with me being sleepy, I was able to rip off a decent chunk of the thing. But as you can tell, there's still quite a bit of rubber pad still left over. And as you can tell, by the end of this, the rubber pad's still going. I mean, the actual metal itself is still going to be pretty ganky looking and everything, so I might end up sanding this whole thing down. I don't know yet, but I do know for a fact that once I rip off all the rest of this rubber, I'm going to spray paint this thing a matte black so it can somewhat hide the ugliness that's this that is this aluminum sheet right here. And considering what I'm going through right now, I can absolutely understand why Apple stopped using this metal aluminum sheet and rubber combo. Because once this little rubber pad here starts peeling away, the bottom of this MacBook is just totally fudged. So, how am I removing it? Well, it's actually quite simple. Right here, I got my dad's vise. This thing's probably something like 34 years old. I find a piece. Oops, give me a second. Let me actually trim this little piece. Let me trim this down so I won't be pulling up more rubbers when I'm actually doing the removal process. And I did manage to cut myself, by the way, as you can tell by this by this. I cut myself in a way to where it's not that noticeable, but once I start working on the thing, the cut becomes very noticeable and starts hurting. And then I make sure it's clamped down in a way to where I can easily pull. Like if I heat this area right here, I should be able to pull about like an inch in, like a half an inch to an inch off, maybe 2 inches if I'm lucky. And then I just use my hairdryer and I just go over for about like a minute and a half, and then it will become loose enough to where I can pull it off these to an extent. Apple used some pretty industrial strength glue on this thing, so removing this pad is a pain in the ass. Sorry about that. I accidentally hit the stop button when I didn't mean to. And getting a new one of these is going to cost around like 60, 70, 80 bucks. So I'm thinking that will probably be that will be my Christmas present. It's a brand new actual pad for my MacBook. Unless I can actually get this thing in a way I actually like it. So here's my hairdryer I use. I haven't actually used this thing for its actual purpose in something like 6-7 years. I've used this thing to like remove touchscreens, remove LCD panels, and stuff like that. So I just put this thing on low, and I put the temperature to high, and I just go over for like a minute and a half, and I'll be able to pull some off. So that's exactly how I do it. I got a little clock I've been looking at right here that I just judged by how long I've been going. So I let it go for 2 minutes. Let's see how much I can pull off. The actual metal is actually quite hot. And as you can tell by this piece right here, this is the heat. This is a adhesive that Apple used to attach this accursed metal pad. Rubber pad here. This is one of Apple's bad MacBook designs. The only reason why I got this MacBook the only reason why I bought this MacBook was because this was the exact same model MacBook I used back in my high school, and I really liked it. But if I knew this was a problem, I would have probably gotten something. I might have gotten a little later model than this one with an actual aluminum bottom. But even with this problem right here, I'm still happy with this thing. I'll just be out here now for about probably 2-3 hours or so, maybe 4, trying to ripping off this stupid pad here. So I'll come back when I actually rip this pad off. And note, right now it is 10:35. So I'll probably be done around maybe 3 or 4. I don't know yet. Oop. I'll probably be done around 3 or 4, so I don't know yet. It's gonna be a while to rip this stupid pad off. So, like I said, I'll come back when I pull off the rubber. Well, removing that rubber was an absolute pain in the butt. But I finally removed it. Unfortunately, the little residue marks I don't know how to remove. And of course, here's the back. Of course, I have these little lines here to help me figure out where I need to apply heat to remove the rubber. And amazingly enough, it did not take me that long. I'm done way faster than I thought. And of course, I have my helper kitty with me, didn't I? You little annoyance. So yeah, all I gotta do now is screw this thing back on. Make sure there's not too many. Make sure this thing's not too warped, because I did end up banging this thing quite a little bit when I was working on it. So I'll come back when I attach this to my Mac. And of course, my MacBook can run without the actual bottom piece on, as you clearly can tell. I'm running Windows 7 via Boot Camp. And if you're wondering what the bottom of a MacBook looks like, this is what it looks like. CPU cooler, main logic board, RAM sticks, hard drive, CD drive, which is broken, and battery pack. Alright, and of course here's my MacBook with the bottom on. As you can tell by right here, there's a clear defined dent right here, or bend. There's a bend right here, which I can show once I remove this little screw. So as you clearly can tell. So there is a little bit of bending going on, so I gotta mark where the bends are and rebend the parts back together. Then go out to my shed, spray paint this thing matte black, and hope to God this doesn't show up as well as I think it's going to show up. Yeah, it's a good 100-something degrees in the shed. And I got the spray paint, and I spray paint the thing black. Unfortunately, it looks like the little adhesive, unfortunately the adhesive is showing up. But at least, even though it's still showing, at least it's not as ugly, at least in my eye. So I'm going to let this dry, put like 2 or 3 more coats on it, and then place it onto the laptop, and I'll come back. Got one of my cats resting. Got 2 of my other cats resting. It's still very hot outside. And I got the thing sitting out here in the sun, waiting for it to dry, and I think I got a stupid spider web somehow forming on it already. There we go. Problem solved. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this thing sit here and dry off. But I'm going to put one more coat of it, flat black on it, and then I'm just going to let it sit. And I'll probably take it into the house and attach it to my Mac at the when the sun comes down. So hopefully in the end this will all come out and actually look halfway decent. But then again, this is my MacBook, and if it looks kind of ugly, it kind of looks kind of ugly. Well, got the cover on the MacBook. As you can tell, it's matte black now on the bottom. It's still a little tacky in certain areas, but the cover is now back on. It sounds like plastic, but it's still the original aluminum sheet. It is still unfortunately bent in certain areas. I don't know if you can really see it, but I know you can probably definitely see it on one edge at least. Basically like right here pretty much. So there's still a little bit of bending here and there, but for the most part it still works. It's going to still protect the main motherboard, battery, and hard drive and whatnot from resting on my lap or resting on my bed and whatnot. The only thing is now is that the screws right here actually stick up now. If I can get my stupid camera autofocus, there you go. That little rubber pad actually covered up the actual screws. So other than that, and the tackiness of the matte finish right now, it's in full working order again. It'll also just slide around a lot more easily now. But for the time being, it'll do the job just fine. I'll live with it until I end up getting another bottom piece.